Hi, welcome everybody. I'm Ross Benjamin. It's another edition of the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Podcast, along with my sidekick, Mr. Chip Chirimbes, professional sports handicapper out of Las Vegas, a red hot Chip Chirimbes. Well, he lost yesterday for the first time, I believe, in 10 days, right, Chip?
Yeah.
You had a losing day going 1-2. Hey,
Well,
buddy.
that was just in the basketball. I went 1-2. I won the best bet. And then we compensated. We did win the football game, so it wasn't all bad.
Oh, that's good. We both had the Chargers last
Yeah.
night, as a matter of fact, as
Yeah.
our pay selection. So we both cashed in there, and how appropriate, because today is our late week NFL show, Chipper. We're going to go over some select games here. And folks, if you've been with us for a while, you notice we've been doing a little bit of a different format. We've been providing you with a free pick a piece at the end of each show. Now, some shows are going to be shorter, where there'll be about 10, 11 minutes in length, where it's just going to be a free pick segment. Others, like today, will be 30 minutes long. It's our late week NFL podcast. Monday, we will be doing a bowl special, in which we'll take an early look at all the lines in college football bowl games, which should be out by Monday. And we'll go from there. You're going to get 3 or 4 times a week. You're going to get a college basketball free pick segment, which will be running a show later this evening that you'll have up on this channel. So stay tuned. And we are 6-2 since we've been giving out free picks on our segments. Not too bad, Chip. Not too bad at all. So
Well, I don't think you've lost one yet, but
no, I have not. But
I'll try and pull myself up. By the
okay,
boots,
because my
sir.
back is getting sore from carrying you. Anyway, Chipper, tell the folks how they could buy your picks, because I've had a couple inquiries and comments on our videos that people have been quite interested in your college basketball picks specifically, and if you could tailor a plan for them. So let them know how you're doing, first of all, and
Well,
where they could find you.
well, we're 22-10 overall in our last 32 selections. You can call me off the website number, which is 702-931-2447. Of course, that's 931 chip 702 area code. The website, I'll have my games listed on a daily basis. Usually I have a 3-pack in college basketball. Tonight's a Friday, and I didn't like what I saw out there. I have no college basketball on Friday. Saturday, tomorrow, we've got a plethora of selections out there, and I'm really looking forward to it. We've already marked off a couple of games we're aiming at. So each and every day, I'm going to give you something I have in basketball for the most part, especially with the NBA starting, Ross, on Tuesday. So you can get the full package for a single day, or you can get it a weekly package, or even on a monthly basis. If you're looking for a private package that's tailored to your needs, you don't want the NBA, you don't want one particular sport or another, we can make adjustments. So give me a call. I'm at 702-931-CHIP, 702-931-2447. Thank you, Ross.
And we both have a selection going this evening in the Pac-12 championship game, college football, that is,
Right.
USC and Oregon. You can get it either at chipwins.com or at my site, rbwins.com. All right, Chipper, let's talk some NFL games coming up this week. It's always fun to do this segment. It's a late week show in which we take a look at some of the line moves that may have transpired from the last time we spoke on Tuesday in our early edition. So let's take a look at the couple of games there on Saturday, since they'll garner a lot of interest, being the only 2 games on the board. Buffalo at Denver. The Bills opened as a 4.5-point favorite. They shot up to 6. Now they're 5 or 5.5. The total in this game is 49 or 49.5, depending on where you're looking. This is going to be my free pick at the end of the show, so stay tuned. Chip, your thoughts on this game?
My first instinct was that I would move toward the Broncos here. They're at home. Buffalo coming off those big wins. And seeing maybe a slight letdown. What bothers me here about the Ross is that Buffalo's never really been in this position before, where they were in a commanding position in the conference, and they can come out and, their incentive may be a little bit more focused, shall I say, because they haven't had to this experience. Teams that have been through it before, they can have a lull. They know that in a week or two is when it really, really matters. This team at this time might feel that every game matters. Locke has been really excellent, done a great job with Denver, except for the turnovers. There have been a few turnovers of late by the Broncos, actually on the whole season. But my instinct would be I would look toward the Broncos here, but I think overall there might be better pickings out there for the weekend.
Yeah, just keep in mind if Buffalo wins this game, they would officially clinch the AFC East for the first time, Chipper, since 1995. So a little bit of incentive there, but you're right, Chip. Here's the thing. They're coming off two national TV games in which
Right.
they won at San Francisco on a Monday night, and then last Sunday night against the 11-1 Steelers, they pretty much dominated them the second half to win that game quite handily. Your feelings about teams coming off national TV wins like this, where a lot of the eyes were on them, and
Right.
how the public perception will carry over to the following week. How do you weigh that in?
Okay, Ross, I used to weigh it a lot more than I do now, a lot heavier than I do at this time. And I'll tell you why. With the DirecTV, every game is televised.
Yeah.
It used to be you only got to see a team when they were on this national stage, and your impact would be there. Now the impact of the impression of what you've seen may not be as great because you've seen this team so many times before. You're not watching them just on these national stages and these national settings. So I do believe it has an effect on how the public views it, and I think it has an effect on how the players view themselves entering the game. If they know it's a national Monday night game, they don't want to do a poor showing. They don't want to look like fools out on the field, which we've seen a number of times, by the way.
Yeah.
But I do think it's a factor, and like I said, I think it's been watered down a bit because of every game being on TV now, not just the national games. When it was just that national game, Ross, when we just had that one game or those two games on Sunday, and there was no DirecTV, I think it had more of an impact.
Yeah, and now even if you don't have DirecTV, most cable packages have the NFL Red Zone, which basically shows you anybody who's close to scoring. So it's you get a glimpse of every team at some point. So you're right, Chip. That's a real good point, and one that I'll certainly put in my memory bank because I never thought of that angle. Anyway, Carolina and Green Bay. The Green Bay Packers opened as a 9-point favorite. They're down to 8. I do see a 9 out there. The total 51.5. The Green Bay Packers, Chipper, they just clinched the NFC North last week, still in contention for the number 1 seed in the NFC. They have the tiebreaker against New Orleans. Both teams are 10-3. Carolina been very competitive all year for the most part. Now I know you're not real high on them, but here's the thing. Let me just finish.
Go ahead.
All right, their last 5 road games, they're 2-3 straight up. However, they've covered on each one of those occasions on the road. So now your thoughts, Chip.
But it isn't that I'm not high on them. I think they've got great coaching, and I think they're really going to come along. This is a team that's been set with injuries, particularly to McCaffrey, which is, here's your all-pro, and he's your versatile back. You're going to throw the ball to him. He's going to run the ball. So it's really hampered their offense. The thing I think the clue here, and you mentioned, is that Green Bay's already clinched the division, and I don't know. Do they have the tiebreaker against New Orleans?
They do because they beat New Orleans earlier this season.
Yeah, so I'm wondering. I wonder what their motivation or incentive is here, because this line. Why would this line come down, Ross? I mean, the Panthers got beat last week at home, did they not? I mean, and now they're taken to the road where they may have covered at Minnesota. Should have had that team beat.
Well, they've covered 5 straight on the road. Okay.
Well, that may make me want to take the Panthers here. I'm just leery of this damn Green Bay team, which always seems to be able to put out that late score. I mean, we talk about backdoor covers. This team covers as a favorite as a backdoor. I don't know.
Right. The other couple weeks ago, right, with that Aaron Jones 70-yard run with about 2 minutes to go, when they virtually should have been running out the clock.
They always seem to do it when I'm against them, but that's why I have a little leery to go against them again. But it's a tough call. It's a tough call because of Carolina's physical condition and because of
Yeah.
the psychological condition that the Packers are entering this game. I mean, they've clinched the division. Do they think they have a chance to lead the conference, to have the best record and get the only bye? There's only one team getting a bye in each conference. So that's incentive enough, I think.
Yeah, I mean, there is some wiggle room for them to win, but not cover.
Right.
It's not like it's a 2 or 3 point spread. So must keep that in mind as well. All right, let's move on. Tampa Bay and at Atlanta, a NFC South division game. I don't know how to figure out this Tampa Bay team. They were lucky last week to cover. Again, I think they're the overhyped team of the year. They are, I believe, 8-5 at this particular juncture in time. And right now they're sitting in one of the wild card spots in the NFC. Atlanta, much better since Raheem Morris has taken over, although they've lost two close games the past 2 weeks, Chip, losing 21-16 to New Orleans, and also last week losing 20-17 to the Chargers. Right now, Tampa Bay is a 6-point favorite. Its total is 48.5 in this contest.
Well, I think the public has to be enamored with the Buccaneers here. Atlanta's been such a disappointment in situations where they have been. They've been a major disappointment. They made a coaching change, which has helped a little bit. They're at home here, which has helped. And I know that there's a lot of professionals, a lot of people that are in our end of the business that are looking for Atlanta to come up big here. I really question whether they have enough. And going against Tom Brady is not fun, even though Tampa Bay hasn't had the greatest of seasons. He's another one that seems to be able to pull out a victory when you think you've got him beat against the points, and then stuff. I don't want to say shit happens. I'll say stuff happens.
You already said it.
Oh.
Anyway, Tampa Bay's been, if I recall, Chipper, they're much better on the road than they have been at home this year. I'm double checking that right now as we speak. Julio down by the schoolyard's not going to be playing this week, the last I checked either. So that's going to hurt their passing game a bit. Although, no, Atlanta, as bad a year as they've had, they're the number 6 pass offense in all in football. Two things. It's a good thing that they are, and a bad thing because they're playing from behind most of the time and have to abandon the running game. So Tampa Bay, yes, they're 4-2 on the road this year. And they're a pedestrian 4-3 at home. So not much, I guess, not bad on the road. 4-2 is pretty good.
Very acceptable, because most of the time I'd say they should be favored, or they're. And on the road, that's a tough call a lot of times for the better teams.
Yeah, this game, I'm seeing an opener of 3.5, and it's gone to 6. I think some of that might have to do with the absence of Julio Jones. Some of it has to do with the public is in love with Tampa Bay and has been for most of the year. New England, I'm sorry, Chip, go ahead.
No, I was saying, so you're telling me now that number has moved to 6. I didn't check that this morning. I mean,
6, and as high as 6.5 now too, in a couple.
All right,
stops.
Yeah, that's a big number for them.
Yes, and especially Atlanta. It's not like, I mean, they're 4-4 under Raheem Morris. Their only bad loss was the game they lost at New Orleans. Other than that, they've been competitive. Like I said, 2 losses the last 2 weeks, been by a combined 8 points. So New England at Miami, Chipper.
Yeah.
Miami looking for revenge. They lost the opening game of the year to New England 21-11. That was with Ryan Fitzpatrick at quarterback. I don't know if that makes a difference at all. I'm not so sure that makes a difference whatsoever, in my opinion. Miami has opened as a 3-point favorite in this game. It's now down to 1.5. The total opened at 44, and it's 41.5 as we speak. Any thoughts, Chip?
Yeah, I think maybe a friend of ours who had once said that, and the numbers back it up, that Belichick just doesn't lose to rookie quarterbacks. He just doesn't. We know how bad Cam Newton's been. He has had more than one touchdown pass in any single game this season. And I think he's had 4 or 5 games where he's had no touchdown passes. New England's going to, they predicate their offense on the running game, and Cam Newton's a big part of that. But the defense, Belichick coming up with a defense to stop Tua is probably why this line has dropped the way it has, because of his success against
Well,
these
look what he did
first-year
against
quarterbacks.
Justin Herbert from the
Exactly.
Chargers, so
Exactly. And I think that may be the issue. All of a sudden, Miami's good. The first time when they played, we didn't expect much out of them. And like you said, Fitzpatrick was there. Uh, I don't think their offense is all that much improved with Tua.
no,
I
no,
really don't. And we know New England can play some defense. I mean, they
yeah.
can. So uh, only a 1.5 point favorite. I think that they're telling you that Belichick's going to do it again.
Yeah, and to me, what I'm looking at is sharp money has moved this line, Chip.
Yeah.
I mean, why else would they be betting New England? Miami's got their playoff lives on the line right now. They're 2 games behind Buffalo, but they're not going to win the AFC East,
No.
barring they win out and Buffalo loses out, which it could happen. Anything's possible, but not probable. And so basically, they're fighting for a wild card spot right now. And New England, basically, they're mathematically alive. That's about it. But when I see this line move, it's definitely sharp money move to me. And I think it's a good point which you brought up. When you get Belichick game planning against a rookie quarterback, he can give him nightmares. And again, I brought up the situation with Justin Herbert a couple weeks ago.
Right.
And New England won that game 45-0 on the road. And that's a Chargers offense under Herbert that's pretty much moved the ball on everybody. So, case in point. Seattle at Washington. We talked about this before we came on the air. The Seattle Seahawks opened at 5. They're now a 6.5-point favorite. The total is 43, which is very low for a Seattle Seahawks game, by the way. But their defense has played better of late. And I guess you told me, I didn't double check, but you told me, and that your word is gold to me, that Dwayne Haskins is going to be the starting quarterback. Alex
Yes.
Smith, who went out with an injury last week. And I always go by that Rex Ryan phrase. I remember him when he was with the Bills, and when they would ask him about injuries, Chip, he would always say, it's never a good sign when a player doesn't finish a game in terms of his availability for the next week. And
Right.
lo and behold, he was right on this one. One of the few things he said right in his career. So in any event, Washington's not going to sneak up on anybody here, Chip.
No, excuse me for that. Washington now all of a sudden has caught the public's attention, going out west and winning those 2 games against the Niners. And who else did they beat out there? Didn't they go on a 2-game trip out west where they didn't even come back and they played?
I know they beat San Francisco out west.
Right.
They lost to the Rams. I let me look here.
No, well, regardless,
Yeah.
I think that they've become. I think the public's become a little enamored with them because of their defense and the way they're playing, their toughness. Oh, they beat Washington. I mean, my goodness, they're coming. I mean, they beat Pittsburgh. Washington beat Pittsburgh, and they beat San Francisco. And now they come home, and they're getting generous points. And I think the biggest problem for them here is that the quarterback change. Really do. I mean, Rivera is not a big fan of this guy, and I'm wondering what's going to happen here. I think that they might be in trouble off a Seattle team that has struggled really to cover the number of, particularly of late. They got off to that 5-0 start, Ross, and since then they really haven't been very impressive. Losing to the Giants at home.
Yeah, they
you
lost
beat
to the Giants twice, as a matter of fact. You're talking about Washington.
Oh no, I'm talking about Seattle, but Washington has lost to the
Seattle.
Giants
Yep. Okay.
And one of those games they just totally outplayed the Giants. I think they gave them a 14-0 lead in the first period on 2 turnovers, and then the rest of the game they were clawing from behind. And
no, that's not actually true. They were up 5-0 in that game, and the Giants just had a great running game that day. Seattle couldn't stop the run. Chipper.
No, excuse me. I was talking about the Giant Washington game.
Oh, okay.
Washington jumped up to that quick 14 points.
You're all over the map with me here. You're driving me nuts. Anyway, I see what you're saying, Chip. Yeah, Washington 4-0 straight up in ATS in their last 4, Chipper. And you're right. I mean, last 2, actually their last 3 games have been on the road. At Dallas on Thanksgiving Day, they won 41-16. At Pittsburgh in a Monday night game that had to be rescheduled, and they won that game at Pittsburgh. And then Last week they played San Francisco in Arizona because San Francisco can't play at home. So, this is a hell of a defense, Chipper. The front four for the Redskins, all number one draft choices. Chase Young looks like an absolute animal.
Wow. I think he's good. I tell you, the way he picked up that ball, I mentioned it before. The only other linebacker I ever saw move like that was Lawrence Taylor. And I'm not saying he's as good as Lawrence Taylor, but he certainly had a great impact on this Washington
He's
defense.
capable, right, Chip? I mean,
I think he's really
I
good.
mean, he's only in his second year, so it's pretty high praise and pretty unfair comparison at this
Oh
point.
yeah. No,
But
but it just reminded me of the way he scooped that ball up last week and he turned the corner in the end. And I remember 40 or 30 years ago when someone said to me when the Giants were bad, why don't they let Lawrence Taylor run with the ball? And you could let this guy run with the ball. I mean, that's the way he looked to me. A great pick, and he's really shored up this football team's defense.
yeah, and don't look now, but the Seattle Seahawks, who are so vulnerable defensively, especially against the pass, which I still think they are. It's just a matter. I mean, they played the Jets, the Giants, Philadelphia the last three games. Not exactly offensive juggernauts,
Right.
but they've gone under the total in their last 5 games. This is the lowest total they've seen all year, Chipper. And the Washington Redskins, they've gone under the total 1, 2, 3, 3-0-1, 3-1-1, 4-4-2, 6-2-1 to the under in their last 9. So there's a reason why this total is so low. But it's going to be intriguing to see this. I just don't think they're the same team. I don't think I'm going out on a limb by saying this. They're definitely not the same team with Haskins than they are with Alex Smith, in my opinion.
Yep.
So, all right, let's get to the next game. The Chicago Bears at the Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota holding on to faint playoff hopes. Is every time they get in a position where they look like they're going to solidify themselves, they lay an egg. And Chicago coming off breaking a 6-game losing streak last week.
Yeah.
And it opened at Minnesota -4.5 down to 3. The total right now at 46.5. Your thoughts, buddy?
Ugly game between these two teams, and one of them is most likely going to get into the playoffs. In the NFC, this Chicago team is they came through for me last week. And Minnesota, if they could make any kind of kicks, they missed 4 kicks for both of us last week, and very, very disappointing. And I think it's difficult to come back with the Vikings after what we saw last week. Therefore, I would always look to play on them, if you know what I'm saying. If the public is sitting there, you got to be disgusted with this team. They can't win at home. And the Bears are finally may have looked like they righted the ship. Their fabulous quarterback led them to like over 400 yards on offense for the first time since, when was it? From the original NFL championship game in 1933. My goodness,
you're obsessed with that.
Yeah. Well, it's stuck in my mind because they beat the Giants. Damn. 23-21. Anyway, the Bears offense it's been questionable here. And I think Minnesota may have a shot, but they may not be the same team, Ross. They really, they've got Cook who's running the ball, and you have Cousins, and yet they're not scoring, or they're turning the ball over. There seems to be something missing there. There's something different about this Minnesota team than we've seen in the past.
Yeah, that was a really crushing loss last week because they held the ball for 18 minutes more in that game against Tampa Bay. And as Chip alluded to, Dan Bailey 0 for 3 on field goals, missed an extra point. First time ever in the NFL history, Chip, that a field goal kicker has missed all 3 field goals attempts and missed an extra point in the same game, like we needed to hear that. So it was pretty much the difference being in that game and possibly winning and losing and not covering. So again, I've mentioned this before. Under Mike Zimmer, Minnesota has been a very good team in non-division home games. Now they've lost a couple of them this year, but overall their record has been tremendous under Zimmer. But against the division, Chip, they're pretty much a 50-50 team at home. So, and I'm not a big Mitch Trubisky fan, I thought Foles should get the nod, and I was wrong. They were with that kind of offensive line they have that can't protect anybody. You need more of a mobile quarterback,
Yeah.
and I think the Bears are better suited going forward with Trubisky, at least for the last 3 games of the year. And they're still alive. Both teams are still alive with a 6-7 record. So go figure. All right, so let's get to one more game here, 2 more games actually, and then we'll get to our free picks. Again, folks, stay tuned. Chipper is going to give you a free NFL pick, and I will as well at the end of the show. Philadelphia at Arizona. Philadelphia coming off that big win last week, Chipper. Upset win. You cashed in on them.
Right.
And, against New Orleans, and Jalen Hurts, with the exception of that late fumble, which kept New Orleans in the game, he fared pretty well, I would say. And Arizona coming off a dominating win against the New York Football Giants, a team that was red hot at the time. Arizona, a 6.5-point favorite, and the total in this game is 49.5. Philadelphia still alive in the NFC East, and Arizona, right now, if the season were to end, they'd be the number 7 seed in the NFC. So again, Chip, what's your thoughts?
Well, I used Philadelphia as my top play last week, and they just ran New Orleans right out of the game. And I mean, ran by Jalen Hurts, who calls that quarterback draw and that running play. And I had mentioned to you that, adjusting to a different offense is a whole new wrinkle and a whole new look. And we know that Hurts doesn't throw the ball as well as some of the others, but he runs very quick. I mean, he's very good. But because of that performance, I think that the public and everyone is enamored with Philadelphia, and they're not giving Arizona any credit for beating the Giants, though that was only their second win in their last 9 games. And we've mentioned their previous only victory in the previous 5 was on a Hail Mary. So I think that the public is not quite as impressed with Arizona now as they were earlier in the season. And I think that the momentum of the Eagles, when I first saw this game, my first instinct was that the Eagles are going to soar. I'm taking this team to fly over the Cardinals, because Eagles they can eat Cardinals if they want. But this is an environmental pick of the day now, So,
Yeah.
But I'm going to pass right now on the game, because I'm very leery of that number being as strong as it is, and maybe the Cardinals, because they have a running quarterback and virtually the same type of offense they're now seeing is the kind they run, that they'll be able to adjust to it easier. I don't know. I might be making all this up, but we're going to have to wait and see on Sunday.
No, I think you're onto something. I mean, look, nobody had a book on Jalen Hurts as an NFL quarterback going into last week. Now they do. So how much that means, I don't know. Could he come up with back-to-back strong performances? It's possible. Look, remember, Chip, this kid played at Alabama, won there, lost his job only because he got hurt and Tua took over and never looked back.
Yeah.
And still hung in there. And when Tua got hurt, he came in and won a big game for him in the SEC title game. A year they won the national championship. And then at Oklahoma, when he transferred as a senior, he took Oklahoma to the college football playoffs. So again, sometimes it's not all about physical arm strength or measurables. It's about the heart. And the kid is a winner. He's a high character kid. And you could never, that is really hard to handicap, because you can't measure somebody's heart. So we'll see. This result on Sunday will tell me a lot. And you're right. This sort of surprised me a little bit, with Arizona being almost a touchdown favorite in this game, for all the reasons you alluded to.
Yeah, I think it's a strong number off the way the Eagles have been playing, and it's I mean, very impressive last week, we have to say. And maybe what hurts there, they got a little impetus and a little, he buoyed them. He got them going, So interesting game. We're going to have to say, like I said, the 2 quarterbacks are very similar. And Kyle Murray may be a little quicker, and maybe he can throw the ball a little better. But this Jalen Hurts is a great runner. I mean, at Alabama, he killed me against Auburn twice, those quarterback draws 3-4 years ago. All I remember is it being 3rd and 13, him running for 18, it being 3rd and 9, him running for 12. He just had that knack. The kid, like you said, has got great character, and I think he's a winner. Yeah, I just hope, I don't know what he's going to do this weekend, though.
Yeah, you just question if that is sustainable at the NFL level, right? I know he's a big kid, he's a strong kid, and the continually running as a quarterback. At some point, you're going to have to prove you can beat people with your arm, And, he's shown he could do that in
And
college.
Ross, he's got to be properly motivated. Look what this kid did. He went to Oklahoma after Alabama. I mean, he's stuck around here for a year. He just, he probably loves the game and is dedicated to it. So I don't have anything bad to say about him
No.
personally, other than the fact that if I have the other side, I hope he goes in a tank. What can I tell you?
Yeah, he's a high character kid for the reasons you just touched upon. Kansas City at New Orleans, Chipper. This one is a real interesting matchup.
Yeah.
The Chiefs at 11-1, and they're holding on to the number 1 seed in the AFC. They're now a game ahead of Pittsburgh after being behind 2 weeks ago. All of a sudden, things have changed. Kansas City winning the last 2, and Pittsburgh losing the last 2. The New Orleans Saints coming off a loss, Chipper, against the Philadelphia Eagles last week. Kansas City, a 3-point favorite. The total is 52. And Chipper, like I said earlier this week, I was going to check because I knew New Orleans had to be pretty good after a loss. And lo and behold, I was right. They're 11-1 straight up following a loss.
Well, they're in a position to pad that record here because they're coming off a loss last week. And, this is a great game. It really is. Drew Brees is going to start, by the way. I don't know if
he
you're aware
is.
of that.
Okay.
He's announced that he will be starting. And, this team has played so well on the road, and now we're in a home position as an underdog. The Chiefs have failed to cover the last 5 games, I believe it is, Ross. They've won them all, but they haven't covered. And I'm wondering, when does that streak end, or when does that streak break? But I have to imagine the Saints are welcoming their quarterback back into the fold. I mean, they've done very well with the substitutes. That Hill, as over the last 2 years, did a great job. Bridgewater did a great job substituting last season. This is a great game for them there. I wonder if it's going to be a high-scoring game, Ross. I mean, even though the Saints, I think, have been playing to the under because their defense has been dominant. We had those 4 games where they didn't give up any. I think they had 1 game to give up double digits, 13, and the other games are like 7, 7, and 3. So is their defense going to be able to be strong enough to handle Mahomes here? And can Brees put up enough points to compensate with Mahomes? I think the total might be an interesting way to go here.
I think Alvin Kamara is going to play a key role here for New Orleans. If Kansas City has a flaw, it's stopping the run on defense. And I think they'd be absolutely foolish not to utilize Kamara and try to control the tempo of the game. As far as New Orleans shutting down Kansas City, I can't see anybody holding Kansas City to the kind of numbers they've held teams to recently. So they are coming off a loss. To me, that is inspiring. It's even more inspiring to them that Drew Brees returns to the mix. Although again, I'm not so sure. I wouldn't lean toward New Orleans, even with Taysom Hill, with New Orleans coming off a loss, but certainly would like them more with Drew Brees. So a game it's going to be highly anticipated, and a game I look forward to watching. Here's another good one, Chip, and the final one before we get to our free picks. The Cleveland Browns at the New York Giants. Cleveland coming off that disappointing loss last week. They had some aspirations to possibly catch Pittsburgh, but that got derailed. And the New York Giants, after a 4-game win streak, looked absolutely pitiful last week in a loss at home to Arizona. Could the Giants bounce back? Not only bounce back, they're getting 6 points in the spot. I mean, I'm looking at Cleveland opened at 5, and it's up to 6 and 6.5 now, Chip.
Well, that's most likely because Colt McCoy is going to be starting for the Giants.
Yeah.
We got word out in New York that Daniel Jones, his calf's muscle isn't getting better. As a matter of fact, he may be shelved for the rest of the year unless they make it into the playoffs, which at this time looks kind of doubtful. Great. I mean, it's a great game for the Giants. I mean, Cleveland Browns coming in here, and the Browns are favored in a situation where both teams have needs, I think. I think both teams need these games pretty badly. We know they have desire. I just think it's destined to stay under the total. The Giants' defense has been their most solid unit the entire season, and with Colt McCoy there, I don't think they're going to try too many risky plays out there. I think they're going to look to keep the ball on short dink passes and control the ball and control the offense. And of course, we know that Cleveland has the best running game in the league with that 1-2 tandem they have there. And maybe they're going to go back to where Mayfield won't be passing the ball up and down the field like he had in the most recent games. But I think the game is supposed to stay under the total, Russ. That's just when I look at it. That's my feel. The Giants offense isn't the greatest, and the Browns look to control the ball. I think they're both going to come in with the same styles. They're both going to come in and look to control the ball and run the ball. And I hope they produce a lot of field goals.
Well, a couple weeks ago when Colt McCoy got his only start, the Giants were pretty run heavy. As a matter of fact, McCoy didn't do anything to really hurt them. He did throw the one pick, but that went through the receiver's hands. So I don't blame him for that pick. But the Giants were really strong defensively in that game against Seattle. They also ran the ball tremendously in that game. That was a game that Wayne Gallman had a monster game, and the Giants as a team ran the ball tremendously well. And so I think that they're going to probably subscribe to the same kind of game plan.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, that certainly would favor the under. There's no two ways about it. They're not going to ask. They're going to ask Colt McCoy to manage this game. Don't beat us. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. And when we call upon you, do the safe stuff. You know what I mean? It's okay to punt kind of thing and trust our defense, and we'll see what happens. But again, they're not going to be the same offense. Not that their offense was great, but I'm sure you would agree, even though they won Colt McCoy a couple of weeks ago, the Giants are much better offense with Daniel Jones than without him. Hopefully for the Giants fans and their backers, you hope that by going to McCoy, you don't get those propensity to fumble like Jones did last week on the opening drive of the game. If he's had one flaw, that's been it. And of course, he got hit and fumbled, and the Arizona Cardinals picked it up, a scoop and score, and they were down 7-0 in the first 2 minutes of the game. So the Giants are not a team built to come from behind, Chipper. So it's very imperative they stay in the game and stick to their game plan. We'll see. It's an 8:20 national TV game. So, all right, Chipper, let's get to our free picks. What do you got?
All right. I got a juicy one here. We mentioned it earlier. Seattle goes to Washington, and Dwayne Haskins gets the call for the football team. And Rivera is not enamored with this guy at all. I don't even think he wants him on the club, and here he has to go with him because of injuries. I mean, he started the first two games when Rivera was there, and then he just yanked him right away. He said he doesn't know. So in other words, I'm looking for Seattle to come here and pull the upset over a team that's won 3 straight on the roads, that beat Dallas, beat Pittsburgh, and beat San Francisco. And that San Francisco win, by the way, they were dominated time-wise. The Niners had the ball for 15 more minutes, 12 more minutes, 150 more yards, and they still 2 defensive touchdowns, or one was a punt return, were the trick there. I think the luck is going to run out on this team, this football team. I'm going to take Seattle. I'm looking for Seahawks to come and have a big game against Washington.
All right. So Chip Chirimbes comes with Seattle -6 on the road at Washington. I'm looking at the Buffalo and Denver game, Chipper, and I'm looking at the total. So you don't call me a homer, okay? I'm not going to take the side.
I'll call you a homer anyway.
Anyway, look, here's what surprised me. Denver's been pretty banged up on defense, Chipper, yet they're the number 1 team in the NFL in red zone defense. That's huge. I mean, I didn't realize that. And
the problem is people get there so often.
Well, that too, but you got to give them credit.
Right.
It sounds to me like they're very adept at turning the ball over in the red zone and having teams, the opposition, settle for field goals. So that was a telling point to me in where my pick is going to go. Denver also in non-division home games this year have gone under the total in all 4 of those contests. And those 4 contests averaged 33.8 points scored combined. Very low number. Buffalo's defense, which has been an enigma for most of the year, all of a sudden they're starting to show the signs that they're coming along and be the defense they've been in the last 2 years. the last 3 games, Chipper, are only allowing 18.7 points per game. And it's not like they're facing an offensive juggernaut. The Broncos are averaging just 17 points scored per contest. And at home, in 6 home games, averaging 15.7 points per game. I really like the under here, Chipper. I'm going to go under 49.5 in the Buffalo Denver game. Again, folks, Chip Chirimbes, Seattle, -6 at Washington. Ross Benjamin, the Buffalo Bills in Denver Broncos on Saturday night, under 49.5. Chip, any final thoughts before we leave?
No, I'm looking forward to the weekend, and not only in NFL and college football, which has been stripped down, but the college basketball board has got plenty to offer as well.
Be sure to go to our websites, rbwins.com and chipwins.com for our best picks in all sports. And also stay tuned, as in a couple hours, we'll be shooting a college basketball free pick segment. It's going to be all of 10 to 11 minutes. We'll each have a free pick on Saturday's card in college basketball. Until the next time, good luck and God bless.